From the Florida Today newsroom, this is the Florida Today Show.
If you thought the story with the Brevard County Commission was winding down, you thought wrong. Hello, Space Coast. Welcome to the Florida Today Show for April 1st. I'm Rob Landers. A resignation and an idea to start controlling the manatee population. What do they have in common? Well, it certainly isn't an April Fool's Day joke. They are among the latest developments from the Brevard County Commission. This week, business editor Dave Berman and government watchdog reporter Ralph Chapoco are back on the program to talk about the latest developments with a soon-to-be former county commissioner and the discussion of culling manatees to actually help save the species. Watch. Okay, so we've been talking, it feels like we've been talking about this particular topic for a very long time. Ralph, can you tell me the latest in the purchasing card Brian Lober saga that's been going on in Brevard County for what seems like years, but it's actually only been like a month or so now. So what's the latest?
So the latest development is the fact that Commissioner Brian Lober, who's actually been, who's undergoing an audit at the moment, has decided to resign. He resigned Monday evening, and we got wind of it about an hour after he posted it to a different publication. He had a video as well as an accompanying article on that publication with a letter to the governor indicating that he resigned. According to him, he's resigning because of family reasons. His grandmother passed away, and because of that, he felt that he couldn't serve the residents of Brevard, particularly his constituents, and he also wanted to be available for his family during this time of grief.
Well, and we certainly send our condolences to Brian Lober and his family in the loss of his grandmother. What does this mean? So he sent a letter to the governor letting him know that there was going to be an open position. So where do we go now? How do we fill that spot?
Well, the under the Brevard County Charter, because he has less than a year remaining in his current term, Governor Ron DeSantis actually has the power to appoint a replacement for him who would serve from now through November, when the November elections would be for the term of office for the District 2 Commissioner. And there have been some discussions about who might possibly be good candidates to replace him. And one person that has been talked about by some people in the community is Tom Goodson, who was a former state representative in Tallahassee and lives in that area, and has been a port commissioner and a state legislator before. So that's somebody, one of the several people that are under discussion as locally as a possible replacement for Commissioner Lober on the board.
So how is okay? So Tom Goodson has spent time in the state legislature. Who is talking to the governor about who these possible candidates are, what their qualifications are? I mean, someone in Brevard has to be talking to the governor, right?
Well, I think a number of people have either contacted the governor's office or contacted local officials who might have inroads with the governor's office. For example, Florida Representative Randy Fine, who's from Palm Bay, says he's gotten about a dozen calls or emails from local people suggesting possible candidates that he might want to broach with the governor's office. And other local people who are involved in politics also have had similar calls or emails from the public about that.
He goes on to say that, he actually goes on to say, though, that don't be surprised if the governor doesn't appoint somebody for this position, because we are this close to the election, and come November, there will be a new county commissioner filling that seat. But that hasn't stopped people from putting their names in or recommending people. And it could be very well true that to get government business done, they want to fill that seat as soon as possible.
Right. So, Dave, you mentioned other local officials. Do we know if Sheriff Wayne Ivey is one of those local officials that would be weighing in? Because we know that that the sheriff has been tapped for the governor's task force. He's been in communication with Governor DeSantis. So do we know? And we also know that, I mean, if the sheriff gives a candidate his blessing, they're pretty much a shoo-in to be elected. So do we know if he's involved in these conversations?
I understand that he is involved. He hasn't said so directly to us, but 3 or 4 other local officials said that the sheriff has been in touch with them individually and has put a name up, and that would be Tom Goodson as somebody that he would like to see fill that position currently. And there is other possibilities involved as well, like Jim Barfield, who is a former representative of county commissioner in District 2, says he would be interested in filling that seat temporarily, but that he would not be interested in running for election for the seat in November. So he says to keep the continuity of the seat going, and because of his experience, he would be willing, if the governor wanted him to temporarily fill the position. But like I said, he does not want to run for another 4-year term. He represented that district before Commissioner Lober.
And he also spoke at the last county commission meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
He was at the last county commission meeting, right?
Yeah. Okay. So where are we with the audit? We've talked about this several times, but just to catch everybody up, the $40,000 in CARES Act spending that was done on Commissioner Lober's P card is now going through an audit, as well as all of the P card spending for all of the county commissioners dating back to, I think, 2016. Where are we with that audit?
It's still moving forward. So Rachel Sadoff, the clerk of courts, and also who acts as the comptroller, has said that the audit is going forward, and that despite Lober's resignation, she's still in the process of completing it. It's tentative right now, but sometime in April, probably end of April, that she believes the audit will be completed. She's still in the process of closing it through and completing it. But yeah, it's still going to go through, and she made a public statement about it. Not only that, but also of Lober's cooperation, which she said that Lober is in fact cooperating with the audit, or was cooperating with the audit, and that it's moving forward.
Okay, so he had been trying for several weeks, I mean, since the audit started, to get a secondary audit going because he questioned Sadoff's bias or her inability to be, completely impartial. What happened with that? Has he been able to secure a second audit or no?
You want to take that, Dave?
I can. So at this point, what we know is that he had requested that the county's external auditors, there's 2 different companies that do audits for Brevard County outside of the county government. And he requested that one of those 2 companies perform a second audit on his expenses particularly, but both those companies have declined to do so, feeling that there might be some concerns or conflicts because they both work for the county commission on audits, and felt it would not be the best move for them to also have a separate audit working with Commissioner Lober. So the last we heard, he was trying to get another company that doesn't work with Brevard County to do a second audit, but we don't know exactly what will happen with that because of his resignation.
Okay, and then back to the governor's appointment. When are we expecting that decision to come down?
Well, there's no particular timeline on that. The governor right now has a number of issues he's working with. He has a number of bills he has to decide whether to sign or veto, and also the state budget, which the legislature approved. He has to go through that very thoroughly to see what items he would like to veto in the overall state budget. And also there's going to be a special session of the state legislature coming up, so he'll be involved in that as well. So in other counties, the decision to appoint somebody to fill a county commission vacancy can take months to do. And the other thing, like Ralph mentioned, is because the term ends in November, so there will be an election, possibly a primary election, because there's several Republican candidates already signed up to seek the seat. So it is possible that the governor might decide to just let the voters make their choice in November and also in the August primary to consider what candidate they want their party to represent. So it's possible there might be no appointment by the governor and he'll let it ride until the November election, which would create a situation on the county commission where there's overall there's 5 seats on the county commission. So there'll be 4 acting commissioners on the board. So it creates increased possibility of deadlocks where there'll be a 2-2 vote and legislation would not pass if there's a tie vote.
So what should constituents in District 2 like me, what do we do if we need to call our county commissioner and there's a hole? I mean,
Well, you have 4 other commissioners, so they can.
But they don't represent me. They represent districts 1, 3, 4, and 5. They don't represent District 2. So what am I supposed to do as a District 2 constituent? I mean, they're not my commissioner. I mean, they are because they're in Brevard County, but they're not my commissioner.
Well, the Commissioner Lober's staff will still be in the office to handle constituent concerns. If it's some issue that involves, something legislation that someone would like to be brought up to the board, I mean, the only option right now is for the public to contact one of the other commissioners. And, the commissioners generally say even though they represent one district, they also represent the whole county. So that's their viewpoint, is that they're commissioners for all of Brevard County. And another thing that members of the public can do is they can come to a county commission meeting and sign up to speak during the public comment period, which allows them to speak for 3 minutes and address the other 4 commissioners at one location all at once. So to get their concerns raised to the public, that's another avenue the public would have.
So, okay, so let's say the governor decides to go ahead and appoint someone to Lober's open seat. Each commission office has X number of dollars to spend out of a budget each year, correct?
About $380,000
Okay, how much of Lober's budget is left?
of his office budget.
That your new commissioner would be able to come in and discretionary spending?
I don't think we know the exact figure, but I think the office does have money to allocate for general office expenses and to pay the staff through the rest of the budget year, which ends on September 30th. So there is money in the budget to operate the office, the physical office, and to keep the staff on and have them paid during the tenure.
Okay.
He does have at least 17,500 though, which is what he originally allocated for the third party audit.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, I'm just thinking back to a meeting. I believe Rita Pritchett tried to do some research on it ad hoc during one of the commission meetings, and I believe she came up with a number that's around $40,000.
Right. I remember her saying you still have money to do this if this is what you want to do, talking about the third party audit. I want to shift gears a little bit, and I realize this isn't one of your stories. Our colleague Jim Waymer wrote on this, but you guys are following the county commission. I want to talk about this.
I hope I don't bore you guys. Seagrass is a big issue, and as your representative on that Indian River Lagoon Council. I'd like to address that from my perspective, nobody else's perspective at all. But I think the elephant in the room for seagrass is the sea cow, which is called the manatee. Nobody is addressing the fact that we have too many manatees eating such a small amount of seagrass. You know, when FWC, both nationally and in the state, protected the bears, they came up with a study. How much habitat is needed to keep the bears healthy? And when the bear population exceeds that, what happens? They have a hunt. They cull the herd. They decrease the population. Same thing with deers. You know and I know that would be very difficult with manatees because everybody loves the manatees. If you killed a manatee, my God, the world would come to an end. But I think something has to be considered along those lines. What I think we're seeing is accumulation of a lot of different effects, but I think that manatees, unlike a cow, for example, a cow eats grass, but a cow munches the grass and leaves the root. So when the cow walks away, the grass has a chance to grow again. Seagrass, that doesn't happen. They pull the grass out by the roots. And so if you have a population of 1,000 manatees and the environment will only support 500, it makes sense that they're going to eat themselves out of house and home. So I just wanted to bring that up. That's my perspective, and I think that this has been discussed, but not publicly. I think both state and federal FWC, as I understand it, are concerned with this, but they don't want to mention it in public. And for good reason, because again, nobody wants to see the poor little manatees go away because they're sweet and we all love them. But the reality is what the reality is.
Okay, so we've spent decades in Florida. Save the manatees, slow your boats down, don't hit the manatees with your propellers. And now we have a sitting county commissioner in Brevard County who is now advocating for, or at least the idea, throwing it out there, for manatee control. What is going on here? This is almost as crazy as what's been happening over the past couple of weeks.
He said that during a portion of the meeting in which they're allowed to give kind of a report. And it was an ad hoc, it wasn't on the agenda. And what he basically said was that we are focusing a lot on saving these manatees, but leave open for the possibility, at least according to him, that there may be too many of them, and that we're making all these efforts, but maybe there's another perspective to adopt in terms of what he thinks. At least that's what he's thinking.
Dave, you've been here for a long time. Am I off in my thinking that maybe I've just spent too much time living next to the Indian River and watching the manatees in the canals in Satellite Beach? I mean, it's not like I think they're cute. It's that it's just been ingrained in our head. Hey, we have to save these things.
Right. And manatees are considered still a threatened species. So what the commissioner is proposing would not be allowed under current regulations. And the Fish and Wildlife Commission has indicated that when they talked to Jim Waymer for his story, that it wouldn't be something that would be even able to be considered under the current classification of manatees. And so it was something I think that Commissioner Smith was thinking about, and also he's probably talking to people in the boating community, which he's an avid boater, and so I think he's noticed that the population of manatees in recent years has been increasing, although there has been a die-off of manatees, as you know, in the last year or two because of the seagrass shortage in large part. So I think he kind of raised it just to bring it to the public attention that maybe this is something to consider in the future if the classification of manatees is downgraded from threatened to something less.
Right. So just kind of, hey, here's a secondary idea. Not like he's saying, hey, we need to go out and start hunting manatee, but here's another idea. Kind of like he is the county commission's representative on the Indian River Lagoon Tax Board, correct?
He's on the interviewing council, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just one other idea, almost like, hey, we should cut another inlet into the Indian River to try and save the Indian River. Just another idea, not necessarily advocating for or against it, but just, hey, this might be something to consider. Got it. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I just mentioned that we'll keep looking into whether there might be some appointment for Commissioner Lober's position in the coming weeks or months even. And also the audit will be coming out. Rachel Sadoff, the clerk of court, says she hopes to complete by the end of April, but it could take even longer if there's more research that needs to be done after that. So we'll be keeping track of that as well, and we'll be reporting on that.
Has she mentioned at all what Lober's resignation might do to that audit? Like, is that going to delay it further?
Well, she said it would have no effect on the audit process. So as long as she feels there's still cooperation from his staff and himself in the audit process, it should not delay the research and the writing of the document and its release to the public.
Well, that's our show for this week. If you have questions about any of these topics, you can reach out to Dave Berman at dberman@floridatoday.com or Ralph Chapoco at rchapoco@floridatoday.com. If you have questions about the Florida Today Show, you can always reach out to me at rlanders@floridatoday.com. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching.